Good afternoon, everybody, and sorry for the slight delay in our start to the Prospective Graduates webinar on resume writing and preparing for life after university. Sorry. So this is hosted in connection with Ejoobi, and you'll see my panel of lovely ladies with me. Specifically for the university, the Nelson Mandela Bay University, whose students have requested this specific webinar. So this is for you and for everybody else listening and watching today. So I have my team with me from Ejoobi Professional Services. And today I have Simongile Mpaklele. I'm sure you've all recognized her. She has been on our show before. She's the co-founder and engagement lead at Ejoobi. She has loads of experience, 9 years in leadership, in coaching in leadership, careers, entrepreneurship, team building and workplace readiness, over 4,000 coaching hours, and she's touched over 150 entrepreneurs via the self-mastery and enterprise development programs. With her today we have Mbali Ngima, who is the talent acquisition at Ejoobi. She manages the job seeker database so that they are able to share with potential employers your CVs. And she manages mentorship programs, the mock interviews and CV review. She also does sourcing and matching for potential employers. So if you're looking for a job, send your CVs to them and they will match you to an employer. I have Faithful Ntuli over here, who is the marketing admin at Ejoobi. So she will tell you how you can get hold of them and the social media aspect surrounding Ejoobi. Thank you for coming today.
Thanks for having us, Anthea.
It's a pleasure. Now, because we're dealing with CVs and resumes, this is the first step that people will see when you're applying for a job. And that first step must be a good impression.
Yeah.
How do students go about doing that?
Well, the resume is the first step.
Exactly.
And that is the hardest thing, I guess, for most of us. I remember my first CV. Now that I know what I know, I cringe. Because, yeah, it was just a list of things that were not telling the employer anything.
Yeah.
It was a list of my qualifications, a list of my subjects. It's just a list of things that doesn't really help when people are actually trying to scan through CVs and find the right candidates. So essentially what we do at Ejoobi, we run CV workshops at no cost to students. They can reach out for us, reach out to our team. We do online, we do face-to-face, just to help young people put winning CVs together. But we also realized that there's a big gap when it comes to the storytelling part. In the actual CV, like I told you, my CV was just a list of things, but in the actual interviews as well, it's a challenge. We partner with internship companies, recruiters, and we help them with a number of pre-screening processes. And the things we see are very horrifying. So we've made it our business to go out there and talk to young people and help them put great CVs together. But what are the elements that are important about a resume? It's being able to tell that story that can show the employer who are you, why should they hire you, and what are you looking for. We get a lot of young people applying to our potential clients, just putting any job or anything. Doesn't really help us. But also what it tells us is that these potential candidates don't know who they are, what they want, and what is the vision for their careers. So you really need to work on these three stories. Who are you? Know your strengths, know your skill sets, know what is your God-given talent, what comes naturally for you. And then by doing that, it helps you articulate why. Why should you hire me, Mr. Employer? Because I've got these particular skills, this is what I believe will be the value for you, Mr. Employer. And this is what I'm looking for. Because you also need to be able to match the organization to yourself, to your aspirations, to where you want to go. Because we see a lot of unhappy professionals, because a lot of people are just happy to get a job. but then the job is not aligned to who they are as a person, and it's just a recipe for disaster. You're not going to grow your career. So we then teach young people these 3 elements of how to put the who am I story, the why, and the what. And then that becomes your professional summary. Because a lot of the times when you're putting a CV together, the first thing that the employer must see is your professional summary. It just gives me a snippet of who is this person that I'm talking to, and makes me bite into actually going further and scanning your CV a bit more to find what is it that I'm looking for. But what we need to know is to be able to tell good stories, especially about our careers. Once we put that professional summary, that becomes your networking piece as well. When people meet you, you can easily express yourself, tell them your skill sets, tell them why they should consider you, and what is it that you're looking for. So for a networking piece as well, it becomes a nice way of introducing yourself to people, you know, which is the hardest thing for a lot of us when it comes to introduction.
Tell me something, let me just interrupt you there. Do people still want to see I'm married, I'm single, on CVs, I'm black, I'm colored, I'm white? Is that still necessary? Because I've seen a few CVs that still say married or single. Is that necessary?
Well, now a lot of things are really, really changing. So there are some things, I actually put a list of do's and don'ts on your actual CV. I always tell candidates to adapt their CV. But things like religion and marriage can really put you at a disadvantage. Remember, you're dealing with human beings who have biases. So just by looking at a CV, then they immediately make up stories in their mind. And some companies have a certain culture. I worked for Dimension Data, which was a very corporate company. And you could see the type of people that were young, unmarried. So you can tell a little bit around the company culture. So sometimes certain things put us at a disadvantage. What I always tell people is that a CV gets you the interview, not the job. So you want to put information that is enough for them to call you for an interview. Obviously be honest when you get to that interview to say, I'm married, I'm mother of 4, but I might like you so much. You might fit into what I'm looking for. You might be such a great talent that I will easily forget about the other stuff that are not necessarily maybe a fit for my culture. But also by looking at the CV, then there's a chance that I might call you because it's matching what I'm looking for. But we have to be honest. Things like addresses as well. We encourage young people not to put their address because people steal people's information, number one, their ID numbers and everything else. So you just want to put a location. Again, people are biased. I know when we are looking for our clients for internships, if a client is looking for someone in Sandton, we immediately want to consider the 30-kilometer radius because we want to avoid people traveling. But again, if I just put my location as Johannesburg, or which I'm not lying, because now you can get arrested for lying. And then when I come, I can tell them I'm from Benoni. I might really care or connect with you so much that I might negate the fact that you're from Benoni. But the moment you put Benoni, I know for a fact when we go through and we're scanning for our clients, we see Benoni, we put them on the side. We prioritize the ones that are in the 30-kilometer radius. So those type of things, be careful when you put them because you don't know who you're dealing with on the other side. Things like religion, again, you know, it's all on, well, we are Christian, but there are other, there are Jewish companies, there are Muslim companies, you know, so you don't want to create biases about you. But then if it's an AA or an EE candidate type of role, you want to make sure that people can see the fact that you are a candidate who is from a certain background or previously disadvantaged. If you're living with a disability and you see that the post requires somebody living with a disability, you can put a one-liner there. But we'll share our CVs and you can have a look. You will see how our templates work. We try and share as much information, but the key is to get the interview. You're not going to get the job by sending the CV. So you want to send things that are relevant for the recruiters, things that they're looking for. And now I used to say 30 seconds. I think it takes about 20 seconds for recruiters to scan through your CV as well. So you want to make sure they see the most important things in your CV. So adapt your CV for whatever opportunity that you are applying for.
Can you also adapt, because you talk about a profile summary. Can you adapt a profile summary if the job you're looking for requires you to say you're more sporty, and then because that's what you're applying for, and then do you adapt that summary to cater for your strengths in that type of field, or if they're looking for somebody that's more administrative, you adapt your summary? to be in line with that. Would you say that's a good thing or bad thing to do?
So I say by knowing who you are, immediately tells you the type of positions you should be applying for. By knowing your strengths, your skill sets, you want to direct yourself to where there is flow. You don't want to swim against the current. I know we're all looking for opportunities, yes, but you want to follow a direction that's going to make you happy as well. But then again, if you're applying for a role and it's still maybe in sports, but it's something else, you can potentially just adjust your CV accordingly. I always say use synonyms, but don't lie, and also don't use the same adverb words, because that looks quite tacky. But you want to adjust it to highlight a bit more of that skill sets that will match that particular role. But you also don't want to lie as well. So it's a fine line. But by knowing yourself, you start understanding that if I'm going to apply in the legal field and I'm interested in aviation, for example, so I might go for maritime law. So maybe I might look for opportunities in the maritime space. And there are many in different levels, but at least it's within that context without me necessarily having to lie and put extra things that are not there. It's quite important that we understand that we're multidimensional. So when we're applying for roles, we have to know ourselves to the core. If you love traveling, I'm sure there's law in traveling. If you are into mining, if you are into entrepreneurship, if you're into community work, if you're into rural spaces, there are many aspects of what we can do in the legal field, but you need to understand yourself first. So that when you do apply for that opportunity, it's aligned to that. You might like property, so conveyancing might be the route that you want to take. So very key that we understand ourselves, so that when we apply for opportunities, they are within that particular space.
Okay, so yes, because I know if I'm thinking back on my own CV, and I'm pretty sure I sent it out last year, I still have some of the stuff you said I shouldn't put in. So I'm going to immediately go back and change it and work it up. So you're saying the CV must just say who you are. It doesn't have to speak to your history.
It doesn't have to speak to a lot, especially resumes. And there's a difference between a resume and a CV. But the resume is meant to be short, straight to the point, focus on the skill sets. Because we don't have time, we're living in a 183 character world. There's Twitter, Facebook, and what you want to be as short, straight to the point, so that it's engaging enough for them to call you for an interview.
Okay, perfect. Now, how do you prepare for an interview? I think we're going to touch on this briefly in this slot, but there is another slot coming, and those ladies are going to be talking about the actual interviews, the questions, and what you can expect from that. But Mbadi's just going to give us a short session on how do you prepare for an interview.
Okay. In order to prepare for interviews, firstly, you need to research about the company, research about their mission or vision statement, and also you need to research about their products or services. Even if your role is not maybe related to their products or services, but then you still need to know everything that the company do. And then also you need to research about the role. It is important that you know everything about the role. This will not only help you prepare for interview, but then it will also showcase that you are truly qualified and you are ready to take on the roles and responsibilities for that role. In case you get the job.
So it also shows them that you've done your work. You're hungry for the job and you have prepared. Because sometimes when you walk in and you sit there and you actually have no clue as to what their products are or their services, it comes across in an interview. And I think what you're highlighting is that we need to make sure that we're doing it correctly and they are coming prepared. Do they need to go as far as researching the industry in which you find themselves? So if it's in a Standard Bank, you're going to Standard Bank for a job interview, do you need to know about the banking industry? Do you need to show that kind of preparedness as well?
Yeah, you really need to showcase that you are qualified for this.
Okay, perfect.
And you are prepared for interview as well.
If I may add, I mean, if you're going to go into a banking industry, you would need to make sure you understand all the dynamics. I find a lot of young people spend a lot of time on social media, but they don't use it very wisely. A lot of the young people we meet are not on LinkedIn, you know, and you ask them, why are you not on LinkedIn? Because that's where you'll see a lot of articles, a lot of blogs, and the company is posting those articles as well. And what's also interesting about LinkedIn is you can see the potential person that you're going to meet. You can see their profile, you can see their interests, and you can also see what they're posting about and what they're talking about as well. So your research must just go beyond that and use LinkedIn as a powerful tool to find out more information about the company. The other silly example I like making is that if you don't find information online because other people might not have access to online, you can call the company and ask for the sales team, and then you ask them, what does your company do? The sales people and marketing people are meant to sell. So those are some of the tricks that you could use.
So you could pose as a potential buyer,
yes, or a call center,
or something.
Yeah, and their main role is to help. Otherwise, go to the reception as well. Tell them, I'm coming for an interview tomorrow. I just wanted to find out a bit more. Do you have any flyers or anything? Because not everybody will have the luxury to be online. The security guards know a lot as well. You'll be very surprised at how much the security guards know, how much the cleaners know. So if you don't have access to internet, these are some of the avenues that you could potentially use. Yeah.
Okay, so that's interesting. I didn't know that.
Yeah.
But I'm going to go and quiz my security guard downstairs.
I'm sure they know everything about everybody in this building.
I'm pretty sure. And they'll surprise me, yes.
Yeah.
Okay, so that's how you would prepare. Do you have to worry about what you look like? How do you dress? That type of thing when you go for an interview?
I'm an entrepreneur, so I'm very different. When I work, I dressed up just for you guys today. And I struggled to incorporate because I couldn't be the black. I'll always be in color, and I just couldn't fit. But the reality is you kind of need to know the type of industry you're going into, the organization you're going into. If you're going for an IT company, you have to have a dress sense that might match that, because the clothes create a rapport. If you come in with a suit and you're heavy and you're applying for a developer role, But I guess for law firms, because they're very formal, it means that you have to wear formal, wear colors that are really toned down. You can't be wearing peacock colors there when you're going into a law firm and people are wearing black robes you know. So I mean, for that, I mean, I think for the legal students it's quite clear. But for the other industries, it tends to be quite tricky because people are flexible out there. So do your research. If you can, also just maybe go and watch maybe a day before and see people moving up and down. I remember I was going for an interview at Investec. I just literally went to reception and said, I'm coming for an interview. I just want to sit here and watch where I'm going. And I was watching the people who were very, very formal. And I knew, okay, tomorrow you have to come in dressed quite formal because this is what the context of the environment is. But bland colors, don't be too loud or be a peacock. Cover yourself. You know, the general stuff.
Yeah, it's when you get the job, then you can go.
And then on Friday, you'll be wearing that pink lipstick,
Then you can do that.
Yeah.
Okay, so now Faithful, over to you. Social media, how do we get hold of you at Ejoobi, and how do we get our CVs out? What can Ejoobi do for us?
Okay, since Ejoobi is available on social media, we actually have platforms. We have Twitter, we have Facebook, we have LinkedIn. We also use our platform, Ejoobi platform, to send out SMS communication. So on our social media, we do share educational campaigns since we go out onto workshops, educating students how to prepare for interviews, to know their stories, how to present themselves. We also do share those on our social media. Yes, so if you are a job seeker and you have a social media account, whether Twitter, Facebook, or LinkedIn, you can just type Ejoobi and you'll be able to find us. Just follow us to be up to date and be updated.
And you said you have a WhatsApp number.
Yes, also do share our WhatsApp number.
Do you have it? Do you know it off by heart?
Yeah, I know it by heart.
Okay.
010. I'm good at numbers. 285.
Yes.
0834.
Okay.
So we have a program that Mbali is running. So if people are going for interviews, they can use the service at no cost. They can do mock interviews. We managed to be in touch with HR experts, HR recruiters, industry experts, banking, and different. I think we've got about 15 now. So we will be able to book a mock interview for you at no cost. And then if you want us to review your CV or you want templates, we're happy to do that for you. Okay. Again, you can WhatsApp us and then we'll be able to assist you.
Mbali, you said earlier that you help with CVs and preparing for interviews. So say I got my CV now and it's all sorted because I've used your template, and I now need to prepare for a CV. Can I still just WhatsApp you, or how do I do that?
Yeah, you can WhatsApp me, maybe if you want me to review your CV.
Okay,
before you send
but
it.
no, not the CV. I'm talking about the interview. So do you do like mock interviews where you can prepare for an interview?
Oh yes, we do. We're having about more than 15 mentors waiting to help our job seekers about mock interviews and CV review.
Okay, so you can WhatsApp on the WhatsApp line, and then you'll be able to say, I would like to do a mock interview because I'm now going for an interview in 2 days' time, and they'll be able to assist.
Yeah, and they can email us also.
Okay. So there's also the email.
Can you share the email address?
What's the email address?
Admin at Ejoobi.
Admin
at ejoobi.co.za.
Okay. Perfect. I will make
On
sure.
the subject line, they must specify whether it's CV review or mock interviews.
Okay, so you have to just say this is for a CV or this is for a mock interview.
Yes.
Okay. Thank you so much. I'm sure our students are going to be thrilled once they get onto your website and find out exactly what it is they need to do. So thank you so much for coming.
Thank you so much, Anthea.
Okay,
Enjoy the rest of your day.
Thank you so much. While they are exiting, and I wait for my next set of panel members to come on, let me just give you a brief rundown about what they just said. So Ejoobi is spelled E-J-O-O-B-I. And if you're looking for the email address, it's admin@ejoobi.co.za. Their WhatsApp number is 010-285-0834. We will be putting their details on our website as well, on Basadi Bamalau, and on our Facebook page, and hopefully send you the link from our page to these so that you're able to access it at a moment's notice. So that is Ejoobi. As we're having this short break now while they're setting up for our next two speakers who's going to be dealing with interviews, I'd like to take this opportunity to thank Anthea Platt Eventing, who did this lovely stage. As you can see, I'm sitting behind on a nice stage with a nice background. So Anthea Platt Eventing has set this up. As you can tell, she is my daughter from the surname. And she started her eventing company. Her details will also be on our website as well as on our Facebook page, and you're able to click on there. And if you need small events and small staging and that type of stuff, you may ask her. Not the big stuff, because she's not there yet for the big ones, but on the small ones she is available to do that as well. Now, for the next part of our session, we are going to be dealing with how to prepare for interviews. We've got some amazing women. The one is the CEO and co-founder of Malachaba Human Capital. Now, her details as well as the Malachaba details will also be on our website and also on our Facebook page so that you are able to access it. She also does a lot of work in the legal space, so you'll be able to, if you're looking for jobs, they also do matching to companies, so she can match you to a specific law firm. So if law is what you're wanting to do, then Malachaba Human Capital is also a good fit for you, as well as Ejoobi for any other industry. Ejoobi will be the one as well. They don't really do law as of yet, but Malachaba can easily assist you. And then I also got the group executive company secretary for Bala World here as well. So let me get both of these young, lovely ladies on. Thank you. Andiswa, you may have a seat. Thank you so much. And thank you, Esther.
You're welcome.
Okay, so let me introduce them now formally. I have Esther Letlape. She is the CEO and co-founder of Malachaba Human Capital, which specializes in HR consulting and BBBEE services. She's also the deputy chairperson of the newly established woman-owned rail company, Community Rail Services. And she has over 20 years knowledge and experience in various industries. I mean, I'm going to put up her CV at some stage, but there's just too much things to go through. But let me just tell you all, she's very experienced. So get to know her. Her details will be on our website. Then we have my favorite person, Andiswa Ndoni. We've known each other for many years. She's the Group Executive Company Secretary and Legal at Barlow World. She's also been all over. I mean, was also the Executive Officer, Corporate Affairs and Governance at Basil Reed. She was the Company Secretary and Legal Counsel for Ubank. I mean, the list is endless. But more importantly, if you recognize her face, she has been for 8 years a commissioner at the Judicial Service Commission. She's been interviewing judges for 8 years. So if there's anything she can tell you about interviews, this is the lady to speak to, because if she can bring a judge to their knees, I'm sure she'll be able to help you so that you don't go and have the same fate. Thank you, ladies, for joining us today.
Thank you.
Esther, let's start with you. What should people do, whether it's students or practitioners or anyone who is watching? How do they prepare for an interview? What are the small steps that we even miss and overlook and that we don't even think to know in preparation for an interview?
Thank you, and thanks for hosting us today. We really are excited to be imparting knowledge because we believe we have done it all in the t-shirt. It's our turn now to pass on the baton. Before I respond to that question, let me just make one big statement here. The question that we ask, what is success? And success is a combination of opportunity and preparation. Be prepared for your next interview and you'll succeed. That is the whole bottom line of all about what we have to talk about today. To your question directly, to be ready for an interview, there are a few things that you need to do. And some of our colleagues have spoken about that before. One, you need to be ready. Emotionally, psychologically, mentally. Be ready. And by being ready, what we find most of the people are doing is that you want to leave it until the last chance and say, by the way, I need to go for an interview. Researching the company, as was already mentioned, which I won't dwell much into it. Making sure that you are on time. There's nothing that upsets the interviewee, whether you're a student or you're just going for your first job there, to be late for an interview. It already puts a wrong taste in everybody else's mouth. Especially if you are in a place like Gauteng or so, where traffic can be hectic. Never underestimate what traffic can do for you. Be on time. If you can be 20 minutes before the interview, be on time for the interview. And another thing is that you need to have a pen and paper with you. Because once you go into that interview, some questions come so fast that you actually have not actually been given anything to write on. The other important thing is your dress code. We spoke earlier on around how to dress. But what I'm going to be focusing on is be simple. You know, the way that you're simply dressed, you're neat, you've combed your hair, you don't have those long earrings there, you know, you just come and you're just simple. It actually says something about yourself. And walk the part and talk the talk. So for those few things that you need to look into is to say that, how much do I know about this company? How much do I know about this job that I'm applying for? And what is it that I can come out with and say to them, I'm the best person for the job? Sometimes people walk into an interview, when they walk out, you can already feel it, that I aced that one. And that is where your instincts start coming in to say that I was so well prepared. And the other important thing that we always don't do when you go into an interview is that calmness. If you start fidgeting with stuff, your pen, you've got a paper here, you don't sit up right straight, you don't wait to be asked questions, you don't ask for questions of clarity, those are the no-no areas, and that is how you lose that big opportunity that you have to be, that you could actually be taking home with you and say, today I've got the job. So be calm, be ready, don't fidget. Your body language also talks, you know. Learn to put your hands either on the table or on the side. Folding your hands, as we've done in industrial psychology, we can already tell your body language. that it's like you're holding onto something, and still the confidence won't come out. You won't be as free, as flowing because you are like, holding back there. So it's those kind of things that you gotta make sure that I'm ready, this is my job, and I've done what I have to do. It's not a matter of luck, it's a matter of readiness and well-preparedness.
Okay, so I was going to cross my hands, but I'm not going to do that. No, I don't cross my hands anyway.
Yeah.
As you can see, I speak a lot with my hands. Tell me something, Andiswa. So now we're sitting. What are the types of questions that we need to know when we go for an interview?
One of the questions that always trick interviews is tell us about yourself.
Oh, yes.
And they will start in the rural area in Glenny in 1967, and you are sitting there as an interviewer and say, oh my word, when are we getting to the core? Because that question is about you selling yourself. What are you good at? Why do you think this position is suitable to you? What is it that you are going to offer the company? So this is the portion where you must know yourself, know your skill set, and for people that are coming straight out of university, you need to talk about the activities that you were involved in as you were at varsity. People sometimes participate in SRCs, law clinic,
or a Rotary Club or something.
Yeah,
Show
all those
us
things
your
which shows that you're a team player. You are, you are not you're not the kind of person that wants to be in the background.
Yes.
Those kind of things.
Yeah, so you need to also show your community service. What do you do outside of just what you're doing for yourself as Anthea? Are you giving back? And even if it's in small ways at primary schools and high schools. I mean, I tell my girls that they must get involved in stuff because when it goes to your CV, you can put that on. And it shows your initiative, your leadership, and those kind of things. How people talk about SWOT analysis for companies. Can you do a SWOT analysis for an interview?
Absolutely, you can. Actually, you can do a SWOT analysis for anything and everything. The same principles, the same questions that you'll be asking yourself, the 4 quadrants that you'll be looking at. Let's say, for example, the first part talks about your strength. Simply put, what am I good at? And that is where the preparation comes in. Write those things down. I am good at helping. I am good at listening. I'm good at communicating. I'm good at this and that. The next quadrant where it says, what are my weaknesses, which we always like to say, don't call them weaknesses. You're not weak in any way, Those could be just your challenges, when you want to present yourself, adequately there. But what are the things that I'm not good at? And those things, you also list them down. And listing them down, you must always prepare to have an action that says, now that I know that I'm not good at, like I procrastinate for argument's sake, what will that do for me? It's going to find itself into another box that talks about the threat. If you know that my weakness is that I procrastinate a lot, that is going to convey itself into a threat, because once you don't submit the research on time, you don't submit that file on time, especially say you're coming to become a lawyer, you don't submit your documents on time. What does it do? It then finds itself into the job, into the box of a threat, because who's going to utilize you? Who's going to want you to be their candidate or to be a partner in there? But then once you've done those things, you've identified this is the gap, this is how I'm going, what I need to do, but what is important is that do something about it. And the moment you do something about it, it goes into the next block of opportunities now. Because now, that threat, you've converted it now, after closing the gap, it turns itself into an opportunity. So it's very, very important to be able to draw your own SWOT analysis. I always say to the candidates when you prepare them, see yourself as a brand. This is me. I'm a brand. I always say after Coca-Cola, Nelson Mandela, it's Esther Letlape. And the moment you start taking yourself that serious, you start beginning to have a good attitude. And that's what we need as well. Once you start getting into that job, what's going to be counting, it won't be any more your degree or your cum laude whatsoever. It's your attitude. It's how you carry yourself. So during the interview, bring that same attitude, bring that same, don't be arrogant about the whole thing there, but also show that you are confident.
Yeah.
So the SWOT analysis is very important. Do it for yourself, you can do it for any other thing. But it will also help you to say, where do I need to go and develop myself? Because not only are companies accountable or responsible for doing anything for you, you can say, I need to do A, B, C, and D because I can see it's going to find itself into a shortcoming.
And this one?
Yeah, but obviously, SWOT analysis is for you.
Yeah.
Yes.
There are things that you cannot say in the interview.
Yes.
For
Yes.
instance, you can't tell your would-be employer that I'm a procrastinator.
Yes.
That
Yes.
is for you to work
Exactly.
out during
Yes.
your time.
Yeah.
Yes.
Look at issues that you are going to, although there are challenges,
Yeah.
you have already found a way of dealing with them, which is going to endear you to the employer.
Okay.
Yeah.
Perfect. So now I'm in an interview and I'm preparing myself now. How do I impress them?
Okay.
What do I need to do?
You know, what is a good thing to impress any interviewer? Be on time. Let them not wait for you. You know, they must find you ready and waiting. That's number one. Number two, please don't lie about what we said previously,
Yeah.
lying about your CV. The same thing is lying in an interview. Number three, whenever you ask a question, where you can, support it with example.
Yes.
Because they'll ask you, like a question that you don't like was, you know, people saying, oh, I'm passionate about A, B, C, and D. How do you demonstrate it?
Yes.
So where you can provide life examples, even if you've not worked before, you are volunteering in church or in the Sunday school
Yes.
or in a shop or
in a
something like
soup
that,
kitchen
or in a soup kitchen there.
Yes.
Indicate that, yes, I am passionate about A, B, C, and D to the extent that I do A, B, C, and D, or I did A, B, C, and D. So always impress them by giving them more than what they're asking for, by backing it up with the real life situations. That shows us that you are authentic. And that's another thing. Always be authentic and be honest. And if you don't understand, there is nothing like a stupid question.
Yeah.
Always ask the person to, did I understand you? Is this what you meant? Try and paraphrase. Because half the time we are rushing to impress, to answer something that actually you're now going out of a tangent.
Yeah.
So if you don't understand, say, ma'am, say, did I understand you? And that's another thing, how you address those people. Sometimes they'll put their name up front there. They'll say, I'm Andiswa, and this is why I am there. You've got a piece of paper there, your pen and paper there. Write the name down. If you don't, or you haven't heard well, and there's nothing embarrassing like calling people wrong things.
Exactly.
If you haven't heard them right, just call them ma'am
Ma'am or
or say. Let them tell that, no, you don't have to call me ma'am or say, call me this and that. But it's important not to try and impress and pretend like you've heard or you understood. At the end of it, if you don't even know the answer, there is nothing wrong if not knowing the answer. You can just say, sorry sir, sorry ma'am, I don't have an answer for that one, but I will go and research it. I'll learn from it. I'll do something about it. Show that you are going to learn out of it there.
Yes.
And lastly, ask the question, did I respond to your question? Did I understand you right? Was that what you're looking for? That gives you a second opportunity for someone to say, no, actually I did not mean A, B, C, and D, I meant this and that. So you're buying time in a way while you are thinking about it. And those are kind of things that impresses the interviewer panel there. And another thing, your posture. Walk with confidence. Walk in there, and you don't sit like that,
Yes,
and you start
slouching and everything
chewing. Sometimes you find that they give you biscuits. They'll say, oh, there's coffee and biscuits there. Do not eat in the interview. I always say to my candidates, oh, what's your name? You don't do that. Even if you're hungry, ask for a glass of water. They provide you with a cup of tea.
Yeah.
Tea can be embarrassing sometimes. If it's too hot and you least expected it,
Yes.
you can imagine what can happen there.
Yes.
So it's simple things and it's small things like being authentic, like being yourself, asking questions, and if you don't know, don't be afraid to say, I don't know. Or can you paraphrase the question? Or can you say it differently? Is this what you meant? And I guess if you start mastering just that art, you just actually are going to make people more and more interested in wanting to hear you out.
And I think another issue, you must show your personality.
Yes.
Because employers want to see whether culturally you are going to fit in their company. Because, for instance, in my team, for some strange reason, I have people that are calm and, because I don't know whether I get attracted to these people because I'm a quiet person.
Yes.
But show your show your personality, because sometimes we want variety in our team. I have my last recruitee is very outgoing, because I knew that, you know what, we need diversity in this team. So don't be afraid to show your personality within confines, though. Don't be something that you will be on the street. Read the environment and present yourself in accordance with the environment that you are applying to.
Maybe if I may just one last thing that I forgot to mention. Always take a second set of your CV, the second and the third. Sometimes it does happen that, you know, we're just so busy, we just move from one meeting to the other meeting, and you might not have a copy of the CV there. There's nothing that impresses an interviewer when you say that here's another set of my CV. So be ready for that, you know, an unexpected consequence that might come in there.
Brilliant. Now, I like that a lot. Now, I just I'm going to ask you this first, and then we'll go to Esther afterwards. My pet hates. Now, I've done a lot of interviews for people wanting to be an advocate, and they need to be doing pupillage or many other stuff, even for various positions, management positions. My pet hates is when somebody says, my weakness is that I'm a perfectionist. I don't even think they understand what a perfectionist is, firstly, and why would it be a weakness. And also the one about I'm passionate about law. Okay, that is just an open-ended, nothing statement. It tells you absolutely nothing. In fact, we make jokes now. When we do interviews, we'll say, how much times did we hear today? I'm passionate, I'm passionate, I'm passionate. What can we do instead of saying these open-ended nothing statements?
Look, I think one thing that I would advise people, stay away from the word I'm a perfectionist. Because as an employer, we want people that are ready to learn. Because if you're a perfectionist, you've mastered it all, you're not open to anything new that we want you to do it differently. So stay away from being a perfectionist. Tell us about the real you. What are your weak points? Your weak point might be, you know, sometimes I'm not patient enough. When I want something to be done, I want it done yesterday. But I understand that I need to prioritize so that I don't burn me and the people that I work with. That is a real weakness. Because and it's double-sword, because it also talks to that you are driven as a person. But don't come and tell me about you being a perfectionist. Immediately. And yeah, you're right. People always say I'm passionate about law. I mean, law, as we know it, everybody is passionate about law. People are passionate about ending a bill. People are passionate about suits. So what is it that you're passionate about? Link it to, for instance, you might be passionate about litigation. And why is that? Because maybe somebody in your family had to go through a criminal matter where you felt, you know, it triggered your interest in litigation or in criminal law. Do your homework, understand exactly in this broad area of law, what is it that you are passionate about? Or maybe you just want to help your communities because you come from a rural area or you've come from communities that are disadvantaged. But once you say I'm passionate about law,
it's a turn off.
Immediately I'm thinking, who's next?
Esther, what advice do you give on those types of typical questions or answers that you get?
I think before I respond to the other question that I would like asking you is that what motivates you, what drives you? And some of these questions, we ask them because there's something that we're trying to extrapolate out of you. We want to see that, do you have goals? Do you set goals? You know, are you driven by anything else there? But to answer the question directly is that when that question comes up, think as my colleague has said here, think about a scenario. If you said I'm passionate about law, what drives you to be passionate about law? What is it that you have recognized or you have observed? It could be you're coming from an abusive environment. You know, you've seen your neighbor, your auntie, or your mom, or your dad, or whoever, being abused. And that says to you, I'm going to stop this. And because I've seen ABC happening there, so always think about a scenario, but then link it back to the interview, to the topic of the day. Because if you're passionate about something and it does not tie back ultimately to the purpose of why we are having this discussion, it becomes just something that is passionate out there because it's a fashionable way to say. Everybody's passionate about everything else there. So the right response to that is to say, think through it, relate with it, come up with an example or something that makes you to think that that is the right thing to do, but importantly, close the loop. Bring it back and say, therefore, I decided to go and study law. I decided to go and do commercial law or whatever it is, because that is what I want to do, or how I see myself adding value towards it. Okay. The other important thing is also to mention the value add, to show the value add, that the passion that you have, what value will it bring if you are being appointed to the position? Because we always ask ourselves, what makes you think you are better than the next candidate who's coming here? Why must we give you the opportunity? So drive that question towards selling yourself. We call it a 1-minute pitch. That's the one time that you've got an opportunity to say, this is a brand, you need me, I need you, we need each other. By employing me, you won't be making the mistake.
Do you have typical questions that, like, or your top 10 questions that you're most likely to get in an interview?
The first one is, and I think my colleague has spoken about it, tell us about yourself. And this way people go to town. That first question that comes is basically to introduce yourself. It's just to open up the conversation. But it's a make it or break it question. If you're going to start saying from when you started in 1976 and which class you go into, it is a turn-off. However, you can use that question to actually ace the interview before they even ask you questions. One, stick to the achievements, the successes in relation to the job that you are being interviewed for. Talk about the competencies, the skills in relation to the job that you're being interviewed for. And talk about how you believe what you have studied will bring value to the organization. Remember, you've done your research. You have Googled them. You have read all about them. If it's a law firm, you've heard about this high-profile case that was handled either good, bad, or ugly, whatever it is there. Look for the opportunity there and bring it in there. By the time you finish telling about yourself and you've just highlighted on your milestones, your successes, your challenges, your opportunities in relation to the role, believe you me, half of the interview is done. Because half the time you're going to repeat the same thing. The other question that is likely to come up is to say, what are the things that you have done so wrong, or a wrong decision that you've made before, and how did you come about it, and what will you do different? Acknowledge and accept that we do make mistakes. There is nothing that frustrates us, like someone said, no, I've never made a wrong decision. Somewhere, somehow, it need not relate to the job itself. It could have happened somewhere in church, somewhere at home, whatever it is there. Where you just could have bought something on sale, but actually didn't need it. And you find yourself that as a student, now you're sitting with a huge NPS account because we're doing just with transfers there. So always think of a scenario where you made a wrong call, and what did you learn out of it? There, when you ask that question, you want to see that, are you the kind of person who's A, going to make mistakes, 2, acknowledge their mistakes, but 3, learn out of the mistakes and do something different. The other popular question that you want to see is, are you a team player? Do you engage with other people? So we'll ask you a question like, oh, I play soccer. Oh, what are your hobbies? What sports do you play? People tend to underestimate it, undermine it. If you say, I played soccer at school, or I was in a debating team, already you can be able to see that, are you a loner or are you a team player? The other question is, what will you do different in life if you're given a second chance? Or where do you see yourself in the next 10 years or in the next 5 years? It doesn't mean that you're not going to get there, but it's just to say that, are you a visionary person? And the other question that, what development areas do you have? Someone said, no, I'm fine. No, it's fine.
That's when they come up on a perfectionist because they've not done that.
Yes. And the very last one that we always like most, why must we employ you? Why do you think you deserve to be part of this organization? Don't say it's because I'm better than others. You just mention that from what I've read about the organization, the values that I've seen, the mission that I've seen there, I relate to those. But you must have read that mission statement, as our colleague said. You must look at those values. If integrity is one of the values there, say that I saw a value of integrity. And I demonstrate my integrity by A, B, C, and D. Because you cannot expect people to, you cannot want people to say you like what they have if you cannot relate to it there. So always go back and say, from what I have read. And if you want to quote the organization or the company, don't make it like this is what you guys are doing. Just say, I could have made a mistake. I might have misinterpreted what I've read there. But from what I've Googled, I saw A, B, C, and D. Please correct me if that is not the case. And then people can see that you've got room for mistakes. So I think those are some of the few typical things that are coming over and over that you must always be ready and be willing. And please don't ask about money. Money matters. You know, but this fingers coming there and saying.
If they ask you, if they do ask you, what do you think you should be remunerated, or if you're in a job, then they will ask you what is your current salary. But can you raise it automatically, or only if asked?
If you raise it right at the end. Right at the end. And the way that you say it, you won't say, how much are you guys going to pay me? The question of saying, what is the value of this position? Because we have already done our homework. But if they do ask you, always say, what is the industry or the market-related salaries related to this job? Because by that time, you don't know, you know? You can pose it back to them and just ask them that, you know, what are the market-related, or I'll accept a market-related salary.
Okay.
And they may ask you that, what is a market-related salary? You say, well, I'll be guided by yourself to say, in your industry, what are the industry benchmarks that you have? Hence, we say, always check. And Google is so nice. You can Google the salaries for candidate attendees. And to throw you all salaries by region, by geographic, and stuff like that.
Okay.
But don't show desperation. Don't be desperate. You need this job.
And also don't lie about your current salary. Especially if they'll ask you to provide you with the pay slip. Now, you know, today's young people are social media heavy. I mean, they love social media. They post about their food, what they're wearing, where they're going, who they're with. I mean, I could probably plot on a map your whole life from your social media. Do you look at social media before somebody comes for an interview?
Of course we do, because your activity in social media is going to tell us a whole lot more than what you're going to tell us in an interview. But most importantly, we want to see how discerning are you as a person. Because what you put out there, you might be a threat to the company. You might be a threat to the position that you are going to hold. For instance, if you are working in the company secretarial department, where everything is confidential, and for everything that you do, you must put it up on social media. Immediately I'm saying, is she going to continue with the edge of wanting to put up everything that she has done today because she wants to impress? So it's a look, that's where we start. We go to your Facebook, your Twitter, and also we check who do you follow. Because those things tell you quite a lot about the person that you are. So tone it down. It's okay to follow people, but you must not write your own opinion until you are absolutely sure about what you're writing, and that there won't be any comebacks, especially when you're still in the job market. I mean, I've been employed, but you'll hardly see me. I repost things that are posted by other people, and I will comment on something that I know it's a professional article, or it's something that I know quite a lot about. Don't make your life difficult even before it starts.
Yeah, because I know everybody posts everything. I mean, even if they're at a drunken party, they'll be posting, and they don't realize that down the line, when they're applying for a job, this is what we're going to be looking at, and this is what we're going to be seeing. Any words of advice there, Esther?
Yes, thanks for asking that, because what you also do, now you've gone through the interview, you've got the job. Your first day at work, or your first month, or as you call it, the first 30 days or the first 90 days, there are certain things that you must be careful not to do. One of them, we call them abusing the company assets. You're now for the first time got access to a Wi-Fi. You've got access to a laptop. You go into Facebook. You go shop. You just go wild. We've got policies in companies. That is why it's important that once you get in there, you've got the job. Go and look at the code of conduct. Go and look at the conflict of interest. Those policies are not there when you're in trouble. They're there to help you not to get into trouble. Look at the social media policy, the IT policy. Because sometimes the youngsters, they get themselves in trouble because they Google wrong things. And I'll talk about this. I know it sounds embarrassing, but it's a fact. We had to charge people for going into a porn site. We track every hit that happens in there. Now, more now with the COVID, when people are working from home, we have seen cases where actually there was a high spike of the people watching the movies, using the company assets there. That is not your laptop. That is not your asset. That access to Wi-Fi, that is not yours. It's a company asset. So it's those kind of things that you've got to be very careful about. And to your point, and what you've mentioned about your conduct, your behavior, then it's at year end. Oh, thanks God you're not back in the offices. Year end is coming. The youngster for the first time, they're going party, just office party.
Exactly.
Then you feel you can call your boss dude.
Yes.
Because you had one too many. You call your, hey ma'am, you're cute, you're cool. Always remember there are boundaries. There are lines to cross. So it's those kind of things. And you're posting, by the way, the time.
Yes.
You know? And we just say sometimes be very cautious about things. It just could be the beginning of the end of your career. So those are kind of words of wisdom that we say to our youngsters, especially if you're just starting your career. It's very small things that to have a first disciplinary case before you even earn a bonus, if you're going to be able to get one, it is a no-go area. So what you always say to them is that read the fine print, read the policies, especially the code of conduct. The various of the organization, because the code of conduct says this is how we conduct ourselves in this organization. Take time and read it, and you realize that at the end of it, it's going to save you a lot of trouble before you even get yourself in big trouble.
Yeah, exactly. So I think to our students and everybody that's watching, please note your social media that you're posting now will affect how you get a job later. This is what they will be looking at going forward. Thank you so much, ladies. Are there any final words of wisdom you can pass on? Esther, I'll start with you.
Okay. Well, we're saying your future is in your hands. It's up to you where you want to start. It's up to you where you want to say to yourself that the question that says, where do you see yourself in the next 5 years or 10 years? It's a reality. Because that is going to determine how we're going to end up being. We wish you all the luck. We want you to be better than us. And that is why we are here and committed to save time. And we just want to thank you, ma'am, for what you're doing for the students. And we are here to support. We'll be behind the students at any time they can call on us. We'll be able to assist. And thank you very much for the opportunity.
Thanks, Esther, so much.
Yeah.
Andisa?
Yes, I think before I do my closing remarks, at the end of the interview, it's important to thank the interviewers. And sometimes, and that sat with me because people always say you must round the interview up. One guy that I was interviewing, he said right at the end, I might not have come across in a good way because this morning I had to take my son got ill and I had to rush him to hospital. So if I didn't come out well, please know that is what had happened. And because those to do are always written, but you don't see them in practice because some of us no longer interview for positions we get invited. Yes. So it's important. And thereafter, follow it with an email to the HC, whoever that was that had contacted you, and thank them for the interview. That sits well. When we are in doubt about which candidate we must choose, those things, they matter.
Can I add something? Just say something on this one. Remember two things. One is that even if you did not get the job, be grateful to be invited for an interview. The interview, you use it as an opportunity to start gauging yourself, to say, if I do not get this job, then it means what did I not do right? Most companies will say, if you don't hear from us in 7 days, just know that you're not successful. But those who still allow you to follow through towards and to say that, always say, thank you for the opportunity. I may not got the job. Is there other things that I need to look into to develop myself so that I can, in a way you're saying to them, why didn't you give me the job? But you're putting it in a way that says, what were my shortfalls? What do I need to improve on so that in future I can know what to do? Then if it's a good company that values growth and aspirations, because we also make notes in the interview there, they may come back and say A, B, C, and D. But the other important thing, there's the last question that we call it integrity question. We've seen lately with a lot of cases at the CCMA. Integrity question, that's why we're asking you that, is there anything that you want to declare or to share with us that might embarrass you or embarrass us should you be appointed into this position? It could be anything. And that is where some people will say, oh no, I had a drink and driving ticket and stuff like that. We'll tell you that it is not important. But in some instances, you might have had something that is so critical and so serious that it doesn't sit well with the value of our organization. But because you've declared it, you have always told us about it. I got upset for ABC and the matter sitting there and there. Even if you made it for your role, at least it gives us a chance that you can still go back and say, no, at least they've declared about it. It's not such a bad thing that you can employ them. But if you're going to apply for a finance position and you were, you're caught with your hands in a cookie jar and you must be a finance student there and you've not declared it, and then when you do the reference checks, so that's where we pick up those kind of things there, we'll actually not even consider you. But so don't forget, if you're asking an integrity question, please honestly and openly talk about those things that you have done them, or they might have been sitting, or they might not sit well with you. You'll be surprised that actually sometimes you might even say, you know what, in the big scheme of things, it does not impact on the road.
Okay.
Thanks, ma'am, for reminding me.
Okay. For me, Anthea, congratulations on choosing law as an industry. It's a very empowering industry and a lot of opportunities. So I'm not sure whether they are final year students. Start brushing up those CVs. We want to see you in the real life of practicing of law. And we're here to support you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, Andiswa and Esther. Thank you for gracing us with your presence and explaining to our students out there what they need to do in interviews. As I said, Malechaba Human Capital, Esther's company, will be on our website, our Facebook, and we will give you all the details that you need for that, so that if you missed anything, if you go onto our Facebook page or our website, you'll be able to get a recording of this session, and you'll be able to get all the details there as well. So thank you, everybody, and thank you, Nelson Mandela Bay University students, for asking for this webinar and for allowing us to share our experiences with you. Thank you.